my name is Tscharner and this is my senior presentation. My senior presentation is on how is switching to fully electric vehicles going to impact the environment. One of the ways it's going to impact the environment is resource gathering. Mining for lithium is one of the problems because in order to mine for lithium, companies typically have to create a whole new mine because of competition. And in order to create that mine, they have to almost completely wipe out a whole ecosystem or an entire area, not only because of how large the mine is, but also because of the amount of pollution machines put off when mining for the lithium. Iron and copper is another one. The demand for iron and copper is getting pretty crazy right now. It's to the point where everyone needs it, and copper is going through a shortage right now. There are even multiple companies that are trying to join in to help, pretty much just for the money. How they're mined. So the way that these materials are mined is they're still combustion vehicles, diesel, gasoline, and there are plans for this to change in the future, but as of right now, mining for these vehicles, the transport of these vehicles to the factories, and the way that these factories put these materials together is all combustion, so it's all putting off pollution. And like I said, there are plans in place to change this to fully electric vehicles for the entire process, but we don't know how long that's going to take. What happens when they stop working? So small repairs, like a small repair on a Tesla and a small repair on a Toyota Camry, are two very, very different things. On one hand, not everyone knows how to work on electric vehicles, and the people that do, they control it because no one else knows how to do it, so they control the whole market. They can pretty much charge however much they want to. For example, a brake job. The average cost in labor for parts for a Toyota Camry is between $197 and $249. The average cost in labor for a Tesla can be anywhere from $1,500 to $6,000, just depending on how many miles the Tesla has on it. Scrapping. So scrapping is a big part of this argument. When combustion vehicles begin to stop working or die, they're sent to a junkyard or a scrapyard just to sit until they're crushed. While those vehicles are waiting to get crushed, people can come and pick their parts off of that vehicle to make their car run better. This is how recycling works in the car industry. Electric vehicles, while they can still sit and be used for parts, have extra waste that cannot be recycled. Things like the lithium batteries they're destined to sit in the landfill for longer than we're going to be alive, unless we can figure out something to do with them. Will-to-well emissions are, what are they? Will-to-well emissions are the emissions produced from the time of gathering materials to the time that it is driving down the road. This brings into account all of the things that people normally wouldn't even think about, like the machines used to mine, how they're transported to the factories, the energy used to power the factories, energy used to make parts, so on and so forth. It's everything till the vehicle is driving down the road. What do they show? So the Union of Concerned Scientists states that manufacturing a mid-sized electric vehicle with an 84-mile range results in about 15% more emissions than manufacturing the equivalent gasoline vehicle, as well as stating that larger, long-range electric vehicles that travel more than 250 miles per range, which is per range on an electric vehicle, is pretty much per tank on a car, could produce as much as 68% more emissions than their gasoline counterparts. So the positives, like I've said before in my paper and during this, my goal isn't to bash on one side or the other. I'm simply trying to inform the people of what they don't know. The average American, or the average range for most electric vehicles in America is around 100 miles, and the average working American's commute per day is around 29.2 miles. That means someone with an electric vehicle would have to stop and recharge every 3 days or so. The average amount of CO2 produced in charging an electric vehicle for 1 year with light driving is 4,815 pounds. That number is important. Try and remember that. The average range for a gasoline combustion engine is around 350 miles. That means if someone were to drive the conventional vehicle for the average amount of miles every day, they would have to stop and refuel every 12 or so days. The average amount of CO2 produced in fueling up is 11,435, which is a huge jump from the electric vehicles. So in conclusion, it seems that right now the clear answer is that electric vehicles are way better for the environment, as they produce less carbon, they pollute less, and they don't have exhaust emissions whatsoever. And they take less to fuel. We know this based on information gone over in these slides and the findings of many scientists and researchers alike. When the idea for this project was developed, it seemed like no one really knew the clear answer, and everyone had their own beliefs about the differences. As the research progressed and more information and statistics began to show up favoring one way or the other, it was very, very difficult for me to find articles that weren't biased one side or the other. But the ones that I were able to find that weren't completely biased one side or the other, pretty much all stated that electric vehicles are better for the environment at this time. And I believe personally that in the future they're going to continue to get better. This is my works cited, and then this is my product. My product is on YouTube, so it's just a step-by-step guide on how to change oil in a vehicle that you already have to keep that one running well, so you don't have to go put it in a scrapyard and let it sit and become waste. So I'm just going to skip through this because it's all on YouTube. I'm opening the oil. This is me taking the drain plug off, letting it flow out. I talk about using a socket. This is me prepping the new filter and putting the new filter on. Just adding oil and then checking the dipstick to make sure it's right. And this is my senior product video, and this was my senior project.